perhaps a bit of a drier start across the east. And then as we head towards the weekend, well, there's further wetter weather to come, but temperatures will be on the rise to above average by the end of the weekend. Have a good evening.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The GB News audience is different, it's unique, because they see through the nonsense.
We want to debate with each other, we want to listen and maybe learn.
We have a chat. That's what we do. We try and have a chat.
They'll watch my programme while they're eating their tea, they'll watch breakfast while they're busy getting their kids ready for school.
We want to hear what matters to you, what is news for you.
And what's brought you out here today?
What are the biggest issues affecting this particular area? The audience are the best thing about GB News. They're friends, they're family. They're people who need to have their voices heard.
They're passionate about the channel, they're passionate about what they believe in.
The one thing about GB News is you get a chance to speak.
Talk to me about why so many people have gathered here today.
Do you want to say something back in return? The GB News audience is what makes GB News special.
It's incredible to see.
They shape our programmes, they shape our output, and they shape our channel.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain. It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight, Henry Novak's murderer was filmed firing a gun in his back garden. Police did nothing, and...
We don't just want to hear an apology, we want reparation.
Well, anti-white racism is rife. I'm going to show you jobs that white people aren't allowed to get. Also...
Not visitors, we are belongers, and we
be here to stay.
Well, now President Trump wants to buy the Chagos Islands. Should we let him? Plus,
How many frigates do we have in the fleet?
We have.
Britain's aircraft carrier is knackered, our destroyers are broken, and now our submarines don't work either. Also,
I cannot love Madeline more than I love her. You know, I would never have taken a risk. It was something that wasn't even a decision. That's how safe it felt.
tonight, the Met Police have been handed new evidence about Maddie McCann's alleged killer. Have they finally cracked the case? On my panel, we have got Daily Express columnist Carol Malone. We have got co-founder of the Together Declaration, Alan Miller, and journalist Benjamin Butterworth. And there's bad news for people in the Mediterranean. Yes, that's right. Don't go, or do go swimming anyway, but, you know, be careful. Anyway, also, check this out from the Philippines. I'll explain to you exactly what's going on there. So get ready, Britain. Here we go. White people need not apply. Next.
Patrick, thank you. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 9:02. The mother of one of the students stabbed to death in the Nottingham attack says the victims and their families have been robbed of justice, claiming their killer has got away with murder. University students Barnaby Webber and Grace O'Malley Kumar and school caretaker Ian Coates were killed by a paranoid schizophrenic, Valdo Calacane, in 2023. He was sentenced to an indefinite hospital order, but Barnaby's mother, Emma Webber, says he should face a murder trial.
Months we've sat through the statutory public inquiry and watched the evidence unfold. It's been brutal, bruising and harrowing beyond measure, but it was so very necessary. Just look at what it has uncovered. Every single agency failed. Every single one, without exception.
Multiple women have accused the billionaire businessman David Sullivan of abusing his power and preying on them for sex. A joint investigation by the Times newspaper and BBC Panorama reveals many of the claims are made by young models at the Daily and Sunday Sport newspapers, which were founded by Mr. Sullivan. He resigned as co-chair of West Ham United on Saturday after 16 years in the role ahead of its publication. He's categorically denying all the allegations. Iran and Israel say they've agreed to stop attacking each other for now after both sides exchanged fire for the first time since truce began in April. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his military is ready to respond with force if Iran's attacks continue, while Iran is warning of a more severe response if Israel continues to strike southern Lebanon. In a post on Truth Social, US President Donald Trump says both countries want to put an immediate ceasefire in place. Sir Keir Starmer is urging tech companies to prevent children from sending and receiving explicit and harmful content online or face tougher action. Under the new plans, big firms like Apple and Google must use built-in features on smartphones to detect and block nude images for children. Meanwhile, it's understood Sir Keir Starmer is preparing to announce a ban on social media for under 16-year-olds within days. Ben Stokes and Gus Atkinson are being investigated for a breach of team protocols. The England and Wales Cricket Board says a probe has been launched after an incident at a nightclub in the early hours of this morning. England beat New Zealand in the first test at Lord's yesterday. You're up to date for now. I'll be back with more in an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good evening. Anti-white racism is rife in Britain. A government department is banning middle-class white boys from applying for an internship. The National Audit Office, which is taxpayer-funded, says that only people who are female, of black heritage or from lower socioeconomic backgrounds could apply. OK, so the obvious flaw there is that the black son of a multimillionaire who went to Eton and then Oxford University can apply, but a white lad who lives in a 2-up, 2-down in Milton Keynes, whose parents earn about 60 grand a year combined and drive a 10-year-old Mazda car, can't. There are jobs that white people, regardless of how rich or poor they are, simply can't apply for. The Bank of England has an internship that only black or mixed race people can apply for. They say, quotes, diversity and inclusion are critical to the bank's mission. If the bank is to succeed in meeting its objectives, it needs to attract and retain the best people and to reflect the society we serve. That requires a diverse workforce whose expertise and potential are nurtured by an inclusive working environment. Does somebody want to tell the Bank of England that their primary function is to maintain monetary and financial stability for the good of the people of the United Kingdom? And they're not really doing a very good job of that, are they? White working-class boys are the worst performing in schools. They're the ones that need a leg up. No top law firms that I could find in the UK offer internships specifically and only for working-class white men and boys. There are at least 80 for ethnic minorities. Only one university that I could find has a scheme for working-class white boys. It's the University of Bradford, believe it or not. There are nearly 100 of these schemes, though, for ethnic minorities. People go, oh, well, look, we need to have these schemes because ethnic minorities are underrepresented in these areas, right? Well, what about the professions where they're overrepresented? Pharmacies. Almost 45% of the UK pharmacist workforce is from a non-white background. Medical practitioners. Over 43.7% of all medical doctors and dental practitioners are apparently ethnic minorities. And that rises to 50.4% across the UK. Taxi drivers. This is the most ethnically diverse single occupation in the UK. 53.8% of all taxi drivers come from ethnic minority backgrounds. Basketball. Basketball has one of the highest proportions of ethnic minority participants in the UK. So grassroots and urban basketball programmes, such as the London Basketball Association, report that more than 62% of their active players identify as black. All right, fine. So when are we going to see internships at pharmacies or dental practices that only white working-class boys can apply for? Will the Taxi Drivers Union, if that's a thing, run a scholarship for white lads? Will we have a scheme specifically designed to get more white boys playing basketball? Imagine how excluded they must feel. Desperate to play basketball, but they just don't feel that they fit in with the prevailing culture. I mean, check this out. Around 70% of traffic wardens in London are immigrants, first-generation immigrants. 60%, apparently, 60% of all traffic wardens operating in London are first-generation immigrants originating from West Africa. So what we have there is a clear overrepresentation of people from, I don't know, places like Senegal, Sierra Leone, the Gambia and Togo, despite the fact that we obviously are not that ethnically diverse in reality, and they're just dishing out parking tickets in our capital city. I mean, should we have a diversity scheme there that just means that only white people can apply for that? Would our country crumble? Would society implode from the inside out if we had fewer people from Burkina Faso fining you £60 for overstaying your parking slot by 2 minutes? No, it wouldn't. And what I want to know is at what point do we end this diversity drive? When do we end these internships, these scholarships, these workplace programmes? And let's have a little look, shall we, at the latest ethnic data from schools. This is the percentage of school pupils who are white British. In Slough, 9%. In Luton, 13.7%. Barking and Dagenham, 14.9%. Leicester, 19.5%. Birmingham, 23.6%, and Manchester, 28.7%. You get the picture. Now, there are some major cities in there. Let's have a look at the data on the percentage of children who don't speak English as their first language. Leicester, 56%. Manchester, 44%. Nottingham, 39%. Derby, 31%. Newcastle, 28%. So at what point do we stop saying that ethnic minorities need a leg up in society at the expense of white people? When all of those figures get to 50%, is that what it is? Is that the quota? When white people become a minority in Britain, is that it? I don't know. People have already started referring to white people as the global minority. All right, OK. Well, so at what point does the global minority get its own internships and university programmes and special job offers? We have roughly 16% youth unemployment in Britain at the moment. 27 non-EU migrants were given jobs for every one British national in the last year. So what does Thames Water do? Oh, they run a careers day just for refugees. Brilliant. The RAF has discriminated against white men. Various police forces have. We've actually seen that brought into sharp focus following the tragic murder of Henry Novak. Just stop it. The whole thing is an absolute load of rubbish. Just stop it. Let's get thoughts from my panel on this. Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, the co-founder of the Together Declaration, Alan Miller. Carol, I'll start with you. I mean, do we even need these internship programmes? I mean, what is this all about? At what point does it end?
Well, in this particular case, from the National Audit Office, it's outrageous that a government department is banning white men from applying. It's racism in its purest form. And the thing is, there's nothing new about racial gerrymandering in this country. It's happening in all the places you've just mentioned there. The NHS, it's happening in the police force, it's happening in the army, it's happening in graduate schemes, it's happening with internships, it's happening in schools, universities, everywhere. And it's just, you know, we have to just get to a point now. We thought that Henry Novak's murder was going to be a line in the sand and these DEI policies were going to be chucked out. But it's clear that they're not going to be chucked out. You know, this isn't about equal opportunities. This is about creating totally unequal opportunities for people who aren't white, and that is not fair. You know, it feels to me like, you know, we're going back to the days, I'm old enough to remember, where hotels and employers were allowed to say, they were allowed to put up notices saying no blacks, no Irish, no Indians. They were allowed to say that. That all changed with the Equality Act until 2010. Harriet Harman brought that in. It changed a bit before that, but certainly in 2010. No, it did change a bit, but there was still prejudice. But in 2010, it changed in terms of jobs and opportunities. But you know, since then, that Equality Act has created racism and resentment. So well done, Miss Harman. And I just think, you know, with Henry's death, we heard lots of instances with, you know, about police forces banning white people from applying, and we were all outraged by it. Here we are a week later, it's still happening. It's still happening, and it's got to stop.
Yeah, I mean, Alan, what do you think about this? I mean, because the thing for me is when is it going to work the other way? So in those certain industries, if you want to call them that I pointed out, like pharmacy, for example, or the dental sector, where there is a significant overrepresentation of non-white people, basically, you know, do you look at that? Does anyone look at that and go, all right, well, we'll do special internships for white people? It only seems to work one way.
Well, I think we have to start with the foundation, and I think it's time that we got rid of the Equality Act.
Yeah.
In many ways, we should call it the Inequality Act. It's been written by globalist lawyers, very particularly interested in the EU. And what we've seen is a consistent approach across the civil service and actually in the private sector now, where the idea of actually discriminating, a bit like the positive discrimination in America, which really had catastrophic consequences, has become embedded in how we do things. And it promotes a grievance culture on the one hand, so you've got all sorts of tribunals and issues that are now promoted on the basis of that being an issue between staff. But much more very concerning. The National Audit Office is, it's almost laughable. It's meant to be holding Parliament to account and about how we're doing public spending. And when that is so enmeshed in this way, and you can see across the board, the Bank of England, we've seen this in MI6 and others with the security services, all promoting the idea that they're only going to do internships or promote certain groups with protected characteristics, BAME groups. That is hugely problematic, and it needs to go, because at the end of the day, this idea of diversity, it becomes a complete lie. What it actually does is it creates a huge amount of animosity, and it also means that we're not going to perform as a nation as we should be. I mean, and we're not going to be united, and we're not going to be efficient and productive.
But I imagine that you're going to seize on the idea that it's actually white middle-class boys who can't apply for this National Audit Office. But for me, the glaring flaw in this would be that if you were, as I said, the son of a black multi-millionaire who had been to Eton, Oxford, you could apply. So there is a bit of a flaw there. It's not really just a class thing. I mean, the one unifying feature there is that white people cannot apply.
Well, first of all, that's not true, because I think one of the qualifications is people from lower socioeconomic bodies.
Yeah.
And so that would include white working class boys, which, alongside many ethnic minorities, are underrepresented in lots of professional careers, lots of ideal careers that people want to have. Now, look, I totally disagree with everything you've said, because there are interns, there are access schemes for white middle class boys in particular all over the place. It's called nepotism.
Tell us some.
It is what this society runs on.
Let me put this to you. Let me put this to you then. What possible nepotism does your average white middle-class lad who was brought up in that 2 up, 2 down in Milton Keynes, whose parents earn a combined salary of 60 or 70 grand, which I think now would class you as middle class. They're definitely not rich. You know, they might go on one holiday a year to somewhere, you know, on the Costa del Sol for a week or so. Again, it's nice, but it's not wealth. Their parents don't drive a Porsche. They've gone to the local state school. What nepotism, what leg up does that person have in life, realistically?
We see all the time that people that get opportunities come from families where they already hold those positions in society. It's not just academic access and success
like Hamish Faulkner
that gives people opportunity. Well, I mean, that's an anecdote.
Or like Sue Gray's son.
What? Well, I've known Liam Conlon for a long time.
So that was nepotism, was it?
Liam Conlon is one of the most intelligent people I know, and he's a fantastic MP.
But it doesn't mean he would have got a job in government.
Hang on. You're going off the point, but I just want to point out, seeing as you've raised that person, Liam Conlon was severely ill during his teenage years and in hospital, and still got straight A's and a space at Oxford. So he's a remarkable man and shouldn't be undermined just because of who his mother is. Now, what I am saying is that it is not just academia that gets people opportunities. It is social and cultural capital. It is the ability to see people who've held high positions, who've succeeded, who've got up to the top of the ladder. And if you're from a background, whether it's a white working class boy or a black child of an immigrant, you don't get that belief.
So the same should apply for basketball. The same should apply for basketball, should it?
Well, first of all, I don't think
pharmacy.
I don't think any white boys are winning marathons or basketball games, frankly. No, it's not, because it's physique. But there's a fundamental difference here.
Hold on a minute, tell us Paula Radcliffe.
There's a fundamental difference here, which is the reason white people aren't so often taxi drivers isn't because they can't do it, it's because they don't want to do it.
Rubbish.
In the reverse, it's not because they can't do it, it's because they don't have access to those top
Benjamin,
jobs.
these DEI policies have poisoned every institution in the land. They need to be ripped out by their roots. Do you not agree with that?
No,
Do you not
I
see this happening? It's you know...
I think what needs to be ripped out by the roots is people like Boris Johnson, who are nothing but posh and hopeless. That's exactly the centre of the problem.
We've been talking about the Equality Act. Reform have said they will chuck that out on day one because, you know, it has encouraged tons of vexatious complaints. The race complaints have increased 7-fold since the Equality Act was introduced in 2010. 7-fold.
Right.
Nothing to say about that.
Because the other aspect to this for me is if you just look at the state of play at Britain at the moment, I brought up some figures there about current school-age children. So the racial demographics in terms of you'd call it diversity. I mean, the lack of white people in a lot of those areas, and also the lack of English as a first language. So this is what I'm looking at. You look at that's coming down the track in 10 years' time, say, maybe a bit more, maybe. Some of those kids will leave school, they'll be adults, right? So then, why are they still benefiting from these graduate schemes when, let's be honest, there's absolutely loads of them, right? So why are they benefiting, whereas working-class white boys are the worst performing at schools?
I think this is why we really need to get this resolved, because trying to resolve social problems with law is utterly reprehensible, actually. It's a big problem now. What we need to do that is in the demos with the public. We have to do that with political solutions. We may have moral ideas about what should happen, how things are organised, where wealth is, who does well. But the idea of a meritocracy or people be able to achieve things in a modern contemporary society can't be governed by constant laws and constant rights. It's a real problem. We've got a situation now where lawyers construct these things and it actually divides us, and then we start understanding ourselves in terms of these very identities rather than saying we need proper integration. What we should be doing in Britain is having institutions and having an insistence on an integration, having that within our education across the civil service, insisting on that so that the issues of, let's say, areas that haven't integrated, some people call them ghettos, where there isn't a lot of English-speaking language, and the values of history and culture and what makes Britain so important, that people accept them, they become proud of them, and then we get to see who really delivers with merit.
Finally on this, I want to ask you this, right? If I said to you now, Benjamin, look, thank you. You've been here from the start. It's been tremendous. I've loved every minute. I know we socialised. You came to my wedding. You know, thank you very much. But we have decided, actually, that what we need to do here is that we need to instead employ someone who is from Somalia, right? And we've decided that you've got to go, right? How would you feel about that?
Well, I was born in a council estate, so and I got into LSE from being a poorer household, so I dare say I still tick your box.
You're not answering the question.
But I mean, look, I do think it's important to have different voices, otherwise you miss out. And can I just say in response
so
Alan,
he's basically said he's going to give up his job and let someone from Somalia come and do it.
I've been volunteering, Carol, for 5 years.
No, you haven't. Oh, no, you haven't. It's interesting. Last year, intelligence services said they had an internship and they wouldn't let white people apply. They're opening up a massive security risk for our security services. Imagine that. Who are the security services tailing most in this country? Hello, Islamists. There's a few that might be in there now, thanks to last year's internship, where white people couldn't apply. Well done.
We don't know, do we? I mean, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I imagine the intelligence services who are probably watching and listening would deny that they've allowed Islamists to wander in through the front door.
Well, they might, but they can't deny that they stopped white people from applying.
Well, that's true. Yes, I suppose they did. Right, OK, I believe. Anyway, right, the National Audit Office spokesman has said our long-running diversity internship schemes offer valuable work experience in the audit sector. The internship opens doors to people who are underrepresented in the sector, including anyone from less affluent backgrounds. In a statement on their website, the Bank of England says evidence shows historic underrepresentation of people of black heritage in our graduate intake. The bank's Black Heritage-sponsored internship is a targeted initiative designed to address the lack of participation and disadvantage suffered by people of black heritage and low socioeconomic status in early careers. The programme complements our wider internship offering, which is open to students of all backgrounds. So there we go. Right, OK, well, time for the Great British Giveaway. I'm afraid you can only enter if you are from a mixed ethnic minority background or of low socio... No, not at all. It's open to all, and there's loads of cash. Here's Hayley Spark.
Welcome to the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. There's an incredible £76,543.21 in tax-free cash to be won. Cash to spend however you like. Which means you really could be enjoying the 5-star treatment this summer. Cheers! All that cash could take you on the trip of a lifetime or just enable you to relax in the knowledge that the rest of the year is on us. You could really make a splash this summer.
For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, loads coming your way, including this.
Do we have a two-tier type policing system? I would refute that. I would say absolutely not.
Well, some shocking new information emerged about Henry Novak's killer over the weekend. At least two chances to stop him were missed, and he was given preferential treatment to the point where he was allowed to wander into a police station still armed with a knife, which is remarkable. But before that...
And, you know, unfortunately, Keir is not Winston Churchill.
Well, apparently Trump wants to buy the Chagos Islands. Should we let him? That's next.
Or being told. Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. So, should President Trump buy the Chagos Islands? Time for that to head. Well, the reason why I'm asking this is because it's quite a big blow to the Prime Minister's plans to hand the Chagos Islands over to Mauritius and make us all pay for the privilege. President Trump is now reportedly considering buying Diego Garcia, the strategically important UK-US military base. The Prime Minister was forced to shelve his deal with Mauritius after the White House withdrew support, and now officials have drawn up a number of options, including a direct purchase from the US of the island. Although he initially seemed supportive, President Trump has since attacked the Prime Minister's deal.
Not happy with the UK either. That island that you read about, the lease, okay, he made it for whatever reason, he made a lease of the island. Somebody came and took it away from him. And it's taken 3-4 days for us to work out where we can land there. It would have been much more convenient landing there as opposed to flying many extra hours. So we are very surprised. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
Right, well, going head-to-head on this now are Errol Moorcock, who is from Republicans Overseas UK, and Vanessa Callow, who is a Chagosian lead at the Friends of the British Overseas Territories. Thank you very, very much. Well, Vanessa, I'll start with you. My understanding is that the only way that President Trump could buy it is if we do essentially give the islands to Mauritius and then he buys it off them. I take it you would be against that.
At the moment, the
Thank you for the opportunity and GB News. Thank you for the viewer. At the moment, Sagoshan must come first. Everything about sovereignty, we should protect it. The British overseas territory need to protect their homeland and the island in general. The government at the moment is getting weaker and weaker because it's not protecting the British people and not their homeland. We, as the British people, we need to stand up and make sure that the friendship that we have with the US, UK, long-term friendship to stay and to make sure that we protect our homeland.
Okay.
There's no danger if the Sagoshan return to the island and work together with the US government. There's no danger at all. So we need to remain British. As the Sagoshan want to remain British, the government need to protect and then support the resettlement of the Sagoshan on the island, and we work together as we always do. Since 1814, the island was for British.
Absolutely. And look, Errol, can I get you to come back to that, really? Because, I mean, it wasn't just, I think, for the British people and for the Chagossians that we didn't want to give it to Mauritius. It's that we didn't want to give it away at all. So I think the idea of letting President Trump buy it, you know, even though, you know, he's an ally and the US is an ally, it still sticks in the craw a bit, Errol, I think, for a lot of Brits and Chagossians.
Well, I can't imagine why, considering you guys are about to give it away for free and then pay an extraordinary sum. And additionally, consider the fact that we're very close allies, and this is a critical base for B-2 bombers. Our bombers hitting Iran had to fly all the way back to Missouri as opposed to stopping there. And you also have to keep in mind, like, as the British Empire has all of these random locations and came under the wing of the U.S. Empire, these are your territories on paper, but if you're not going to use them for the Western Alliance, then maybe we can find a better agreement, something along the lines of how we have Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. And also, with the Chagoan people, why could we not find an agreement with them to make sure that they're taken care of? Mauritius, I've been to Mauritius quite a few times. I don't think the Mauritian people, no offense to them, are native to Chagos Islands. So there's probably is no reason for all of this rigmarole. We can just do this directly through leases and whatnot. But ultimately, this is about making sure that a strategic asset doesn't come under control of Mauritius, which is compromised by the Chinese. Additionally, we have a critical ally in India who very much wants to make sure that this remains under either the Commonwealth or the U.S. But I see no reason why we couldn't create maybe a financial scheme or some way to help the actual native Chagoan people have a say there. But as far as the tactical viability of it, it's something that we can't afford to lose, regardless if the UK wants to feel bad about their colonial past. That's not really our problem.
Yeah, no, just quickly on this, Errol, before I give Vanessa the final word. Is Trump deadly serious here about wanting to buy the Chagos Islands?
Oh, 100%. And this is probably the most realistic of his targets in the short term. It's deathly serious because of what we've seen in Iran and how important it is toward Indian Ocean security and the second half of the 21st century.
OK, so Vanessa, look, I suppose the obvious question is, hopefully, and we're on the same page with this, hopefully we don't give it away at all. I think it's absolute madness and everything. So there is that. However, sometimes things are out of our control, sadly. And if Keir Starmer decides that he wants to go and give it away to Mauritius, would you rather have Mauritius in charge of these islands or Trump's America?
I really like the President Trump, but is our island. We need to support it. We need to protect it. If we started giving away island or buying, let other foreign country buying island from us, so that will be really a disaster for the British people. This is our island. We need to protect it for our future generation. That's why we have a House of Lords on the 5th of June 2026, a Lord where passed the first reading for the British Sovereignty Chagos Island Protection Bill. We need to start to protect our heritage. Absolutely. And this is our value. It's not only for the Chagosian, it's for all the British people. We need to stand up for our country. This is the time now.
Yeah, I agree. Look, thank you both of you. It's a fascinating discussion because it's kind of knocked it on a bit, the Trump thing. I mean, it was sadly inevitable, really, given the way that the Labour government has been messing around with the Chagos Islands. But look, thank you so much, both. You really appreciate it. It's Errol Moorcock there, who is from Republican Services UK, and Vanessa Callot, who is Chagosian lead at the Friends of the British Overseas Territory. Take care, both of you. Thank you very much. OK, right, at 10 p.m, we're going to do this.
We have said we are sorry for handcuffing and arresting Henry at that time.
Well, shocking new detail has emerged of Henry Novak's killer, and the police officers missed 2 chances at least to stop him, and they didn't even bother to search him after they arrested him and gave him preferential treatment. Then they tried to influence the trial. How on earth has the boss of Hampshire Police still got a job? But before that...
How many frigates do we have in the fleet?
We have
Good grief. Our aircraft carrier, knackered. Our destroyers, broken. And our submarines don't seem to work either. That's next.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're looking to get towards the Mediterranean this week, we've got some nice and hot weather for most places. There are a few showers around for Turkey and for much of Italy. Temperatures up in the 30s as well. Again, some lovely sunshine for mainland Spain. A few showers up towards the north. But for Madeira and the Canary Islands, we do have this northerly wind bringing in some cloud. But for the rest of the week, almost wall-to-wall sunshine and temperatures up near the 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast. Hello, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Tuesday will bring sunshine and showers for most of us, although across more southern areas there will be more sunshine than we've had through today. But for the rest of this evening, a cold front moves away to the east of the UK, and behind it we see further wet weather push into the far north and west. So a showery night to come for parts of Northern Ireland, western Scotland, and these showers will push into more western areas further south too, into Wales, southwest England. Across the east it should turn quite dry actually after the final spell of rain this evening, so a clear night. So it's going to be quite a fresh start across many eastern areas of the UK, in particular in the mid-single figures rurally, a bit higher than that in towns and cities, but it's cooler than it should be or typically is at this time of year. So plenty of showers to come on Tuesday, particularly across more northern areas. Some of these could be quite heavy. It's across the east where in the afternoon where they could last a little while. But for the morning, should be a fairly bright start. But I think just about anywhere could see a shower first thing. You can see some of these quite heavy, the brighter colours here, westerly wind as well, bringing that fresher feel through much of the day on Tuesday. But there will be some gaps in the rain, some drier weather to enjoy. I think the rain will last longer for more northern areas, particularly across the north and east. Across the south, there will be more in the way of dry weather than there will showers, but it's worth being prepared for them nonetheless. So with a westerly wind, it's still going to feel quite fresh. Temperatures in the mid, possibly higher teens in the far southeast. A little bit fresher than it should be, but certainly warmer than the weekend. More showers to come through Wednesday, particularly across more northern areas. It will likely push into the east, though, by the end of the day. Perhaps a bit of a drier start across the east. And then as we head towards the weekend, well, there's further wetter weather to come, but temperatures will be on the rise to above average by the end of the weekend. Have a good evening.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight, only on GB News. So, our enemies will be rubbing their hands tonight amid reports that the Royal Navy's entire submarine fleet is stuck in dock, awaiting maintenance. The 5 hunter-killer boats should be protecting the Vanguard submarines that carry nuclear Trident missiles and deterring Russia's underwater fleet. But instead, they're all out of action. A 6th, which was commissioned into the fleet, is not yet ready to deploy. Now, over the weekend, it was also revealed that HMS Prince of Wales has been forced to stop off in Norway for repairs just weeks into the warship's deployment in the High North, and that is apparently our flagship aircraft carrier. And of course it comes after all of the hoo-ha that we had with HMS Dragon and basically it not being able to get to the Mediterranean. I'm joined now by former senior military intelligence officer Philip Ingram. Philip, I don't take any joy in doing these stories because I don't really like the idea of talking our country down militarily and all of that stuff, but you know, it is, well, it sounds bad. Is it bad?
It's very bad indeed. Right. You know, the availability is shocking, and we can't carry out the roles that we need to carry. You know, the aircraft carrier should be accompanied by a submarine to protect it as it's going on around its business. It doesn't have a British submarine that's able to do that. As you said, our nuclear deterrent needs to be protected. Our undersea cables need to be protected. Air defence, we need that around areas of conflict. We've got one Type 45 destroyer that is working or not working. That's the only one that can provide ballistic missile air defence, well, if it's got the right missiles. And we've got no submarines, as you've highlighted, available. And this is down to the previous government's policies and current government's policies in short-termism when it comes to allocating funds to the MOD.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking there, really, that, you know, for all of this talk about standing up to Putin and China and all of that, I mean, it's essentially just goodwill that's stopping them from invading us at the moment, isn't it? I mean, do we have a navy?
Well, we've got a navy, and our navy is very capable. You know, the personnel are capable. The ships that are actually getting to sea can do what they need to with the crews that are on it. The crews are fantastic at making things work, even if big things are breaking. You know, the ingenuity of the British military, whether they be navy, army, or air force, is phenomenal. The difficulty is, and the reason why we've got so many of our attack submarines stuck in dock, is that it's bureaucracy that then comes in. You know, what needs to happen is for these vessels to go out on their long-term patrols, and these patrols can be months on end. Everything for their nuclear safety every box needs to be ticked, but it's to civil nuclear security standards that are done, and therefore everything has to be fixed to a very high standard. But the government isn't giving the money in over a long-term period. It's all short-term money, and therefore the money isn't being allocated to allow them to do these long-term planning, long-term maintenance, and that's why they can't tick the right boxes to get the safety cases to go to sea, and they just sit tied up.
Yeah, and again, it's the catalogue of thing. I mean, HMS Dragon trying to get over to Cyprus for a while, and that really was a bit of a national embarrassment. Not for the people on board, by the way. And again, I'm at pains to say, not for the people who are actually in the military and doing the day-to-day job and all of that stuff in the Navy, etc. You know, that's not what I'm criticising here at all. It's the people who've been not making long-term decisions for probably the best part of 20 years by the sounds of things. But one of those people who's currently in charge is, of course, our Defence Secretary, John Healey, who delivered this iconic moment on LBC.
How many frigates do we have in the fleet?
We have 17 frigates and destroyers. It's down from 23 at the end of the last Labour government.
Yeah, I mean, he went on to not really be able to say how many we could actually use. So there's that. Should the British public be seriously worried here?
Oh, the British public should be more than seriously worried, because, you know, I describe this as our 1936 and 1938 moment. You know, we've got a massive war in Europe. We've got a war in the Middle East. We've got brewing potential conflicts down in Southeast Asia. It's all joining up, the Middle East and Europe. You know, Russia and Iran are coming together. And, you know, we're not investing in our military because our government can't make its mind up. We had a strategic defence review that the current government chose to do as soon as they came in and said, said, that will set the conditions for how we're going to do defence. Linked to that, there has to be how you're going to fund it. That's the Defence Investment Plan. It's over 12 months since the review was done, and they still haven't published and can't give us a date for publishing the Defence Investment Plan. The review is now out of date. The situation has changed, so it's all garbage. We're in real trouble, very real trouble.
Yeah. Oh, good grief. Look, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Great to see you. All the very best. The MOD has said that it did not routinely comment on the state of the UK's submarine service, but insisted that the UK's waters were always protected with a range of assets. They went on to say strengthening and sustaining our submarine capability is a top priority, and we are taking decisive action to ensure its long-term resilience. Coming up...
Do we have a two-tier type policing system? I would refute that. I would say absolutely not.
There is some unbelievably shocking detail that's emerged over the weekend about Henry Novak's killer and the way that the police acted. But before that, the Met Police have been handed a dossier of evidence about the prime suspect in the Maddie McCann case. So, have they finally cracked it? I'll reveal what's inside that dossier in just a few minutes.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans? Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account. You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, I love this story. He's English footballing royalty, but the looming World Cup this summer in North America isn't the reason that Gordon Banks is in the news. No, it's for a far more shocking and mysterious reason. His grandson, Ed, has enlisted the help of investigative journalist Gabriel Gatehouse in the new podcast Foul Play to interrogate the staggering claims that the World Cup winning goalkeeper, get this, could have been poisoned by the CIA at the 1970 Mexico World Cup. It's the front page of The Observer today. Despite that, Gordon Banks pulled off one of the most iconic moments in football history when he made an incredible save, and what a save it was, to keep out Pele's header in a game against Brazil. Here he was reflecting on that a few years ago.
He says, I travel all over the world, he says, and people talk about the goals that I scored, he says, but when I come to England, all they talk about is that save that you made to me.
What a guy. Well, with me now, I'm pleased to say, is Gordon Banks' grandson and the host of the Foul Play podcast, Ed Jervis. Ed, great to see you. Thank you for joining us on the Late Show Live. This story is fascinating, so I'll let you explain, but long story short, it was the 1970 World Cup. England were favourites alongside Brazil. England ended up playing Brazil in the latter stages of the tournament, and first of all, was it Bobby Moore got arrested for stealing a bracelet in Colombia, but then, more personally, Gordon Banks, your grandfather, suddenly went down ill, the only squad member to get ill, and he had to miss the game against Brazil, right? And eventually England were knocked out of the World Cup.
Yeah, well, it was actually... sorry to correct you. It was West Germany, but the meeting. Oh no, it's absolutely fine. The meeting was all about the final, and the chat was about whether England would meet Brazil in the final. They'd played in the group stages. My granddad had made that save against Pele in the group stages.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, on Saturday, the 13th of June, the whole country will unite for Trooping the Colour, the official birthday of His Majesty the King. We would like to invite you to join us here in the studio from 10 a.m. for a special programme filled with all the pomp and ceremony of one of the year's biggest royal events. To apply for tickets, scan the QR code on your screen right now or visit gbnews.com/tickets. We hope to see you there. Now, in other news, a major breakthrough in the Madeleine McCann case tonight. The Met, reportedly, have been handed a new dossier of evidence on their prime suspect, Christian Bruckner. According to The Sun, police in Germany have handed over the files, which are thought to contain a hard drive with picture files from Portugal at the time Madeleine went missing in 2007. The revelation comes after it emerged last month that Scotland Yard is pushing to have Bruckner extradited to Britain so that he can stand charged for her abduction and murder. The 49-year-old, who has always denied any role in Maddie's disappearance, served a 7-year jail term in Germany for the 2005 rape of an American woman in Portugal, who was released in September last year. And last month, The Sun revealed that German police managed to briefly lose him, despite the fact that he wears an ankle tag and is supposed to be under 24-hour surveillance. Joined now by Danny Shaw, a police and crime commentator. Danny, thank you very much. So what do we know about what might be in these Met Police files that potentially they didn't know before?
Well, this, I think, is material that has been gathered by the German investigators in relation to Christian Bruckner. We know, for example, that he's just completed a prison term for rape. He has a previous for sexual misconduct and sexual assault. And we know that at the time that Madeleine went missing, in 2007, May 2007, 19 years ago, when she was 3 years old, Bruckner lived a mile away in Praia de Luz, in the Praia de Luz area in Portugal. He was a burglary suspect breaking into apartments and villas. We know that his phone was used in Praia de Luz about an hour before the abduction. There have been statements from associates which are alleged to amount to partial confessions, and he had a property nearby in which, and I think this refers to some of what you're talking about in terms of what the Sun has uncovered, potentially paedophiliac material, diaries describing his fantasies, and the other aspect of this, he re-registered his car a day after Madeleine went missing. So there's quite a bit circumstantial potential evidence, but the issue is, I think this is the key issue, Patrick, is that Scotland Yard are putting together this this material, but there is no extradition treaty between the UK and Germany. If the UK was still in the EU, he could be extradited to face trial here. It would be a straightforward, agreement under the extradition arrangements that existed.
You would have thought they might just do it anyway, though, to be fair. But yes, I agree with you.
Well, the law doesn't quite work like that, Patrick.
No, well, sadly not. No, but again, just some of the stuff on this. Apparently, there are some explicit photographs here. The dossier contains photos showing Bruckner naked at a location that investigators consider to be a key area of interest in Maddie's disappearance. So, you know, I suppose we'll have to wait and see, won't we? But clearly the Met are very interested in this.
Yes, I mean, this was quite a surprise development when it emerged that Scotland Yard wanted to look at this file and were seeking ways to try and see if there was enough evidence to prosecute Bruckner, because the Germans haven't done, despite the fact that the prosecutor, Hans Christian Walters, has said he's the only suspect and is 100% sure that Madeleine has been murdered. But the Germans haven't put him on trial. So, you know, the Metropolitan Police is going to have a go, potentially, if they can get round that extradition problem. Or it's possible that the Portuguese, if the evidence is passed to the Portuguese, the Portuguese could try and do it. But he denies any wrongdoing.
Absolutely. Danny, look, thank you very much. Always an absolute pleasure to see you. So take care, mate. All the very best. Thank you. Right, now, shortly, I'm going to be giving you some, just absolutely mind-blowing new details about Henry Novak's killer. Police officers missed at least 2 chances to stop him, and even after they caught him, they didn't even bother to search him. They gave him preferential treatment, and then they tried to influence the trial. Plus, is the Prime Minister only pretending to care about the safety of kids online? And all your front pages.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box boiler spots the weather. GBNews.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Tuesday will bring sunshine and showers for most of us, although across more southern areas there will be more sunshine than we've had through today. But for the rest of this evening, a cold front moves away to the east of the UK, and behind it we see further wet weather push into the far north and west. So a showery night to come for parts of Northern Ireland, western Scotland, and these showers will push into more western areas further south too, into Wales, southwest England. Across the east it should turn quite dry actually after the final spell of rain this evening, so a clear night. So it's going to be quite a fresh start across many eastern areas of the UK, in particular in the mid-single figures rurally, a bit higher than that in towns and cities, but it's cooler than it should be or typically is at this time of year. So plenty of showers to come on Tuesday, particularly across more northern areas. Some of these could be quite heavy. It's across the east where in the afternoon where they could last a little while. But for the morning, should be a fairly bright start. But I think just about anywhere could see a shower first thing. You can see some of these quite heavy, the brighter colours here. Westerly wind as well, bringing that fresher feel through much of the day on Tuesday. But there will be some gaps in the rain, some drier weather to enjoy. I think the rain will last longer for more northern areas, particularly across the north and east. Across the south, there will be more in the way of dry weather than there will showers, but it's worth being prepared for them nonetheless. So with a westerly wind, it's still going to feel quite fresh. Temperatures in the mid, possibly higher teens in the far southeast. A little bit fresher than it should be, but certainly warmer than the weekend. More showers to come through Wednesday, particularly across more northern areas. We will likely push into the east, though, by the end of the day. Perhaps a bit of a drier start across the east. And then as we head towards the weekend, well, there's further wetter weather to come, but temperatures will be on the rise to above average by the end of the weekend. Have a good evening.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late-night TV shows. We're giving you a front-row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five. You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight, Henry Novak's murderer was filmed firing a gun in his back garden and the police did nothing. And
how many frigates do we have in the fleet?
We have.
Well, Britain's aircraft carrier is knackered, our destroyers are broken, and now our submarines don't work either. Also,
must also be serious about protecting our children from those who look to abuse it, from the online predators who target our children, and from the sexual abuse that they enable.
well, is the Prime Minister just pretending to care about children's safety online? I've got all of tomorrow's newspapers tonight, and the breaking news on the front page of the Eye, UK spying fears after a secret camera was found in a Whitehall ceiling panel, but not just in any room. It was in the room where apparently they were having discussions about the Chinese embassy. So there you go. Who could have seen that coming, anyone? Who could have seen that coming? On my panel tonight, we have got Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, co-founder of the Together Declaration, Alan Miller, and the journalist Benjamin Butterworth. And bad news for anyone who's planning on going swimming in the Mediterranean. I'll reveal all shortly. And what was going on in the Philippines. So get ready, Britain. Here we go. Absolutely staggering new information about the Henry Novak murder case next.
Good evening, your 10 o'clock news from the GB Newsroom with me, Bethany Elsey. The mother of one of the students stabbed to death in the Nottingham attack says the victims and their families have been robbed of justice, claiming their killer has got away with murder. University students Barnaby Webber and Grace O'Malley Kumar and school caretaker Ian Coates were killed by paranoid schizophrenic Valdo Calacane in 2023. He was sentenced to an indefinite hospital order, but Barnaby's mother, Emma Webber, says he should have faced a murder trial.
Months we've sat through the statutory public inquiry and watched the evidence unfold. It's been brutal, bruising and harrowing beyond measure, but it was so very necessary. Just look at what it has uncovered. Every single agency failed. Every single one, without exception.
Multiple women have accused the billionaire businessman David Sullivan of abusing his power and preying on them for sex. A joint investigation by BBC Panorama and the Times newspaper reveals many of the claims are made by young models at the Daily and Sunday Sport newspapers, which were founded by Mr Sullivan. He resigned as co-chair of West Ham United on Saturday after 16 years in the role, ahead of the investigation's publication. He described the allegations as false and that he categorically denies all the claims. US President Donald Trump has warned Israel's Prime Minister that if he went back to war with Iran, he might be fighting alone. Iran and Israel have for now agreed to stop attacking each other after both sides exchanged fire for the first time since April. But Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu says his military is ready to respond with force if Iran attacks again, while Iran's military has warned of a severe response if Israel continues to strike southern Lebanon. Officials in Mauritius say they haven't received any official proposal from the US administration after it was reported President Donald Trump is considering a plan to buy the Chagos Islands. The Telegraph is reporting the US is planning to bypass Britain and make its own deal to take control of the strategic joint UK-US military base in Diego Garcia. The UK government says Apple and Google have a moral duty to make it impossible for children to take, share or view nude images on their smartphones. Big tech companies have been given a 3-month ultimatum to introduce safety features or face new, tougher laws leading to fines and, as a last resort, criminal liability. Meanwhile, it's understood the Prime Minister is preparing to announce a ban on social media for under 16-year-olds within days. And Ben Stokes and Gus Atkinson are being investigated for a breach of team protocols. The England and Wales Cricket Board says a probe has been launched after an incident at a nightclub in the early hours of this morning. England beat New Zealand in the first test at Lord's yesterday. You're up to date for now. I'll be back with more in an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Good evening. Several shocking pieces of new information have emerged about Henry Novak's killer, Vikram Digwar, and about the way that police treated him. Firstly, his neighbours reported him to police because they saw him firing what appears to be a gun in his back garden. Now, according to The Sun, Hampshire police were unable to find a report of the incident, but did discover an air pistol at the property in a search following Henry's murder. Now, it's not a crime to own an air pistol, but you do need a special licence for more powerful air guns. And frankly, it begs the question, doesn't it? Why didn't they just go round to check? Why didn't they search the property when they got a phone call? The manpower, the time, the resources for mean tweets, but not for reports of someone practising how to use a gun in their back garden. Then we've got this, and a warning that what I'm about to show you is very distressing. But remember how the police treated Henry.
A hand in the cuff, mate. Yeah.
Well, look at this. According to The Sun, after Digwar was arrested for the murder of Henry Novak, not only was he never handcuffed, but it looks like he wasn't even searched. This meant he was allowed to have a knife with him in police custody. So let that sink in. Digwar, who they thought might have stabbed a teenager to death, was allowed to have a knife with him inside a police station. A source told The Sun either the arresting officers knew he had the Kirpan on him and they let him keep it on after his arrest, or they missed it and it was only picked up when he was searched at the police station. Either way, it's a massive blunder and could have been very dangerous. Have you ever heard of anyone being arrested for murder, then not being handcuffed and being allowed to keep a knife? No, me neither. Then we've got Hampshire Police's attempt to intervene in the trial, and this is absolutely astonishing. Hampshire Police had arrested Digwar for murder. They had charged him with murder. Digwar was on trial for murder. And then they tried to release a statement countering disinformation. But the Crown Prosecution Service stopped them, saying it could influence the jury. Now, there are very strict contempt of court laws in this country, a bit too strict if you ask me, but people go to prison for breaching them. Why did the police want to put out a statement like that? And remarkably, it somehow gets even worse. Because 3 days after Henry Novak was stabbed to death, Hampshire Police wanted to put this statement out. They wanted to say, it was reported that 2 men had been assaulted by an unknown man. Now, that is a clear attempt, in my view, to paint Henry Novak as the aggressor. And reportedly, his family, rightly so, were very upset about that. That is Hampshire Police trying to control the narrative, excuse me, and get their officers off the hook, else if you ask me. They even knew that they had a recording of the Digwars speaking in Punjabi in the back of a police van, where Vikram apparently admitted to stabbing Henry numerous times, and he agreed with his brother to lie about that. But it's not just the police officers who are under the microscope at Hampshire Police now, no. The full 12-minute phone call made to police on the night of the stabbing has been released. Now, we can't play you that in full for legal reasons. But during that phone call, the call handler was told that Henry Novak needed medical attention. The call handler, instead, was obsessed with finding out what racist language Henry was supposed to have used. When they finally concocted the lie that Henry had said the P word, the call handler could barely contain his glee. He said, "That's what I needed to know." And now it emerges that there were 2 previous incidents involving Vikram Digwar and a local Sikh temple. We already knew about police being called because they believed that Digwar had stolen £1,000 worth of ceremonial knives. The police confirmed that they spoke to Digwar but did nothing. Why not? The temple is convinced that he stole those knives. Did they find the knives? Now, there's another detail. A few months before Henry's killing, Digwar got into an altercation with another man at the Sikh temple. Digwar threatened a fellow worshipper who claimed that a hot-headed Digwar approached him from behind, grabbed his arm and asked him to talk outside. The young man declined the intimidating offer and community elders had to step in and diffuse the tensions. He told the Sunday Times, "I was in the temple and he didn't like the look of me. Maybe my beard was cut too short. Maybe I didn't represent the whole look of a baptised Sikh and he didn't like it." Apparently, leaders of the temple raised it with Digwar's parents, who allegedly said that their son could do no wrong. Now, there are 2 distinct patterns of behaviour that have emerged here, aren't there? Number 1, that Vikram Digwar was a weapons-obsessed, hot-headed, dangerous, aggressive man with a track record of dodgy behaviour. Number 2, that Hampshire police, led by this man, Alexis Boone, missed several key chances to stop him. There are at least 2 occasions, one with the air gun and one with the allegation of theft from the temple, where they appear to have taken no action. Why not? And even after they caught him, they didn't even bother to search him and they gave him preferential treatment. And then they tried to influence the reporting and the public mood in favour of Digwar and against Henry Novak. Can anybody tell me how the head of Hampshire Police still has a job? Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, the co-founder of the Together Declaration, Alan Miller. Carol, I mean, look, it was, of course, this time last week, wasn't it, that we played the footage, the body cam footage, and that was an incredibly difficult thing. And you know, now, as often happens in these cases, you know, more evidence comes out, more information comes to the public light. So looking at that, what's your initial thoughts there about mischances by police, maybe about preferential treatment?
That guy, Alexis Boone, you know, of course he should go, absolutely should go. He's part of the problem. He looks like a weedy librarian and not a police chief anyway. But his main problem is that he says 2-tier policing doesn't exist. Yeah. He said it's something he doesn't recognise. It's a concept he doesn't recognise. So he's never going to be able to solve the problem. But, you know, it is there in black and white in the race action plan where it says people from ethnic minorities have to be treated differently. It's there. His officers were told they had to treat people from ethnic minorities differently. And this guy, apart from anything else, it took him 3 days to show his face after the court case. He sent out an acting deputy chief constable to read out the apology letter that they shouldn't have handcuffed Henry. Then on day 3, he read the apology. He's asked to meet the parents because obviously he wants to feed them a whole load of flannel about what's gone on and the stuff you just read out. Yeah. But the parents have not agreed to meet him as yet because I suspect they don't want to hear what he has to say. Yeah. This guy is a disgrace to policing. He's like many other police chiefs in this country. He's woked to hell and back. This is a guy, he came from the Met Police he came in 2025. He'd been with the Met Police before that. He had to answer very difficult questions about the death of Chris Cabba and about another guy who was tased by police and fell off Chelsea Bridge and died. So both of these had race connotations to them. So he's obviously running scared of that now, and this is what this is about.
Well, he needs to grow a pair, really, because we can't be, and he shouldn't be anywhere near office if this is the way it's behaving. Yeah, I mean, Alan, look, again, the catalogue almost chances there, but I suppose, you know, one of the standout things for me is that the police had a recording of Digwar and his brother in the back of a police van speaking in Punjabi, where Digwar admitted to stabbing Henry repeatedly once in the chest, where they made no allegations of racism amongst themselves at all, and that they agreed to basically lie and say it was self-defence. And then despite that, they were still up for releasing 2 statements, essentially trying to intervene in the trial, saying that Henry Novak was the aggressor. And that is really, really shocking stuff.
I mean, if you can be any more shocked than by what happened, which is just so terrible and is endemic with the problem that we're faced with, that when you use the R word, this whole idea that you have to treat people differently, and everyone, the nation and internationally have seen that terrible video now. On top of that, you've got a situation where the police are attempting, some might call it perverting the course of justice, but certainly trying to manage the message in a way that, again, is promoting a kind of DEI, Equality Act overview that says, well, you know that if there's ever an incident, it's going to be this one guy who happens to be white and these 2 other people who are assaulted. Then when the family complain, they then try and do it again.
Yeah.
And you just think it's so endemic. Now, we've grown up for many years now with this idea of, you know, white privilege, white toxicity. But the NPCC, it's not just Hampshire Police, the National Police Crime Commissioners have got a whole policy around this as well that says you have to treat people unequally. We need to get to policing without fear or favour. We've got to have this as a kind of watershed moment that transforms this situation, because a lot of rank-and-file police officers, we saw it recently in the responses in the Times and others, are saying they are very nervous, they're fed up, they don't like the fact they're having to be managed what they say and what they think, and they want to get on with policing. Whilst this is happening, we know that everything from shoplifting to burglaries and an array of things aren't getting handled. We know what happened with the rape gangs. It's time for it to stop. We've got to get back to policing without fear or favour.
Yeah, but Benjamin, I've got some clips I'm going to play in a second, actually, but just whilst we're on this specific aspect of it, yeah, again, I mean, there are questions to answer here. All right, now, look, this air gun that they eventually found may or may not have been legal, OK. But I would expect, if I saw my neighbour essentially firing a weapon in the back garden, doing what looked like target practice, and I called the police, I would expect them to probably go round and have a look. And they didn't do that there, and they didn't do anything about, didn't press any charges about the Sikh knife temple thing. He might deny it. The Sikh temple are adamant that he stole the knives. I mean, they've banned him. And it just, again, it paints a catalogue of things. And I just don't know if you or I would be treated like that.
Well, I mean, there's clearly a police failing, because there were police reports previously. There were concerns raised at the temple. He'd been banned from the temple because of his violent and erratic behaviour, and evidently that wasn't acted on to stop him continuing as he did murder. I think, you know, you don't have to take Carol or Alan's views to come to the conclusion that this police chief is failing to win public trust. And we police by consent.
He's gutless.
And he is ignoring the public mood. And the fact is that the idea that they originally put out a statement online that said that they were misled at the scene and then deleted it when the body cam footage revealed exactly how obvious it was and how poor those police officers behaved. Now, if your answer to that isn't to rip up the way things work and start again to fix the problem, then maybe you shouldn't be in the job.
I just want to move things on slightly, because I think people, possibly in and around Downing Street, don't understand how global this Henry Novak case is and how much, you know, how widespread the outrage and the strength of feeling has been. I've got a few clips for you here now, and this is one of a Spanish singer called Miguel Bosé, who is apparently has a massive deal in Spain, by the way, taking the knee for Henry Novak. And there were protests in Germany, a demonstration in Germany about Henry Novak. And this is DJ Tom Zanetti, who, did this at one of his gigs.
And that's to a boy called Henry Novak. Give your hands up for Henry Novak! God bless you, God. That's amazing.
Look, and there's a lot of this going on, and I don't mind saying this. There was an Italian television company that did an interview with me today in this office about, they've sent a crew over to make a kind of mini documentary about the Henry Novak case and the state of Britain at the minute and what it says about two-tier policing and all this. This has got genuine global cut-through.
But you know, the thing is, our government's response to this and the Hampshire Police's response to this is to say, No two-tier policing here. Didn't happen. It's just not something that we recognise. You know, Keir Starmer said last week there is no such thing as two-tier policing in this country. It's happening, and as you've that surprises me. I hadn't seen that before. It's amazing that this is happening. But because that's happening, they have to start taking notice. But you know what? This government never will. It's not going to happen while this Labour government are in power.
We've got a situation where our Prime Minister says we've got a rich tradition of free speech and then goes full tilt on trying to suffocate it and limit it. We've got a situation where two-tier is abundantly obvious. We saw the difference in the reactions to what happened with certain protests, like lockdown protests. People were kettled versus Black Lives Matters, 27 police officers injured. We've seen a complete different response in Southport, people saying that they're going to be arrested and put away before we even knew who committed crimes. We've seen all of that, and now we've got a situation where I think quite understandably people are furious, and the British public are very tolerant and actually very welcoming. And the danger with all of this is that it exacerbates identity politics. What we need to get back to is a proper united way of dealing with things fairly and honestly, and that means lots of the key police officers at the top have to either go or this gets transformed. And across the civil service as well, because we've got 500,000 people in the civil service, it's basically captured with these ideas. They have to go.
But they won't go, and that's the problem. Alexis Boone has already said, I will not resign. Why does he get a choice over this when he's done his job so badly?
Yeah, quite. And again, we didn't have time to play all the clips. You know, there was a couple of minutes silence in Sweden for Henry Novak. There was a mural outside a building, a government building, I think, in Poland as well, because obviously he had Polish citizenship, so Polish heritage. Elsewhere as well, I mean, well, look, we know that, like, J.D. Vance has got involved with it in the State Department. OK, I think people might dismiss that a little bit because they go, oh, well, you know, it's political point scoring or whatever they're trying to do. But I don't think so. I mean, Australian media are talking about it. It's massive on Australian media. You know, this is a really, really, really big deal that possibly tells you about how people feel in their own countries about the scale of DEI as well. There's a reason maybe why this has been a bit of a kind of explosion, because people all around the Western world feel as though they may be in a similar position. But you know, I think, Benjamin, when the Prime Minister tries to maybe say, oh, you know, we shouldn't state division here by talking about it, all of that, I think he needs to get his head checked, because this Henry Novak case has gone absolutely global, and people are looking at Britain now. Not just because of this, they really are looking at Britain because of everything that's happened, especially in the last couple of years. And we are now an example of how not to run a country, how not to create a society.
Well, I don't think we should be making our laws and deciding how police operate based on a Spanish singer's TikTok video taking the knee. I think that's farcical.
That's not what he's saying. He's talking about how it's being responded to.
Well, we did it because an American football player that no one had ever heard of took the knee.
Yes.
I don't know who...
Colin Kaepernick. Well, that was the Black Lives Matter thing. That was one of the things that started.
Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about American football. But, you know, I think there are lots of people who wanted to peddle a grievance about white victimhood, and they are using this awful murder as playing into the narrative that they have been making regardless of this, which is not what the Novak family said they wanted. It's the opposite of it.
Henry Novak died in the manner that he did because of what's happening.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
He didn't.
He died in he would have died anywhere from his
Exactly. His murder would have been regardless.
I said he died in the manner that he did.
How do you feel about the fact that apparently the police either allowed Digwa into a police station with a knife or didn't bother to search him, compared to how they treated Henry Novak?
Clearly that's unacceptable. And I'd say that two things can be true at the same time. So there is an obvious reason to think that there was a bias in their policing. You know, if they looked at a white boy that we suspect they assumed were drunk rather than seriously injured, and they made assumptions that a white boy like that might have been racist. But it's also the case that black people in particular and other ethnic minorities are faced with similar prejudices and biases, which mean they get treated poorly by the police. And so the idea that there is some kind of unique attack against white people is unreasonable and a step back.
No one's saying it's unique, but what we're saying is it's got to be taken on board. There can be two kinds of racism happening at the same time, and that's definitely not.
OK.
That's not two-tier policing.
All right. Well, a spokeswoman for Hampshire Police said, following the opening of the trial and the media reporting that followed, a significant amount of mis- and disinformation was circulating online. This included requests for information to be shared that had not been fully examined as part of the murder trial. The decision was not to publish, was taken following advice from the CPS. And the CPS highlighted to the police that protecting the integrity of the ongoing trial was essential. The risks of referring to any suspect of the evidence before it had been heard by the court and the case had been summed up by the judge and the jury. So, look, there you go, anyway, right. OK, look, there's loads more to go out tonight. And Keir Starmer's been community noted relentlessly on X today, and he's not the only one of this Labour government. But first, it's time for the Great British Giveaway. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
Welcome to the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. There's an incredible £76,543.21 in tax-free cash to be won. Cash to spend however you like. Which means you really could be enjoying the 5-star treatment this summer. Cheers! All that cash could take you on the trip of a lifetime or just enable you to relax in the knowledge that the rest of the year is on us. You could really make a splash this summer.
For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, right, coming up, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and there's a couple of corkers out there. So it turns out that, you know, the room where apparently we're making the decision about whether or not to approve the Chinese embassy was bugged. Who could have seen that coming? Oh, my gosh, no way. Anyway, before that, though...
Must also be serious about protecting our children from those who look to abuse it, from the online predators who target our children, and from the sexual abuse that they enable.
Well, there's quite a lot in that, OK. Keir Starmer has basically been accused of only pretending to care about the safety of kids online. That's next.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in...
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, Parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
OK, well, coming up, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Shock horror, by the way. I know you won't see this one coming. Oh, it looks like the Chinese might have been spying on us again. But first, though, the Prime Minister gave tech giants like Apple and Google a big ultimatum this morning, warning them that if they don't stop kids from taking, sharing or viewing nude images on their phones by September, then the government will step in to force them.
Tech should adapt to the needs of society, not the other way round. And so if we're serious about unlocking the opportunities that tech can bring, then we must also be serious about protecting our children from those who look to abuse it, from the online predators who target our children, and from the sexual abuse that they enable. That is why today I'm calling on tech companies operating in this country to introduce device controls that prevent children from sending and receiving sexually explicit images.
A couple of points on this. Why doesn't he just do it immediately? Why wait until September? But anyway, he then celebrated the announcement on social media, claiming this government will not stand by whilst children are put at risk online. But embarrassingly for the Prime Minister, X's fact-checking system had to point out that the former Safeguarding Minister, Jess Phillips, resigned from government last month, blaming Starmer's failure to act on this very issue. And actually, apparently, in the last hour or so, Apple have come out and said, but just FYI, we already do this. So I'm joined now by the director of Big Brother Watch, Silky Carlo. OK, look, so thank you very, very much. So the government's got into a bit of a mess here, I think, haven't they, on this?
Well, it's a mess for the public because what's being suggested here is effectively ID cards for the internet. And of course, we all want children to be safe online. It's really, really important. But what next to no one is actually talking about is how the government will in practice do what it says it's going to do by making sure that children don't see certain types of explicit content on their phones. It's really the job of parents. It's something that parents can protect their children from. But when it goes to central government, what the government is saying is that the whole British population's phones will be child locked. Expensive phones that we have, if you have one of these phones, or maybe laptops, maybe tablets, why stop at phones? If you own one of these devices in Britain, unlike any other country in the world, you will have restricted internet access. The government is setting up one of the most authoritarian internet regimes, if not the most, in the world with this massive change, because there's no other country in the world that requires an ID to have normal internet access. And paired with the ID requirement, so you'll have to show that you're an adult in order to not have a child-locked phone. They're also discussing what sounds very, very much like spyware on phones, which is called client-side scanning. It's software that will be mandated by the government that will be constantly scanning for what you're doing on your phone to see if there's something that they should block. So we're a million miles away from the free and open internet that's part of a normal democracy, and moving towards something that's like a government-controlled device. And I almost, honestly, Patrick, I almost genuinely can't believe that I'm saying these words out now because it sounds so extreme. But this genuinely... This is the technological reality of what's being proposed.
Can I just ask you a bit on that technological reality? Because, look, absolutely, I mean, I hope it goes without saying, but we're going to say it anyway, as you already have. Look, child abuse, terrible, online child abuse, shocking, needs to be stopped. There has to be more done to stop it. That said, as you've rightly said there, perhaps their solution is not the answer. Can I ask you a question in practical reality here? So let's just say I've got a 9-month-old son, and let's say, you know, we go on holiday and he's playing in the pool or something and he's, like, in the nud, and I take a picture of that and I want to send that to, like, his grandma, my mum, to be like, oh, he's having a nice time by the pool. Do I get my door kicked in by the police at 2:30 in the morning because they think that I've taken an indecent image of a child because their new software says that the picture I've taken of my own son is a breach of the law or something?
It's a genuine concern, and it's the type of error that will happen if you start to have scanning conducted without suspicion on every single phone in the country, and it's a real risk. And part of the problem here is what is being done about actual predators, or what is not being done about actual predators, because we know that there are masses of reports made, including by the big tech companies, to the police and to the authorities about child abuse and exploitation online that is not acted on, and that's a real problem. But when you treat the whole population like they're potentially suspicious, potentially children, or potentially up to something, and you have the state try to then manage what we can all see and do on our phones, that is a recipe for total disaster.
They could also just send paedophiles to prison. I mean, I've lost count of the amount of times that we've reported on cases where someone's found with like 1,000 indecent images of children, and then it goes, you know, so-and-so got a 1-year suspended sentence and a £90 fine. And, you know, hang on a minute. So you either take it seriously in terms of the prosecutions and the convictions and the sentencing, or you don't really, I suppose. But, yeah, look, Silky, thank you very, very much. It's really great to get your insight on that, really. And I think, again, it's that question, isn't it, of whether or not the government solution is really actually the best one to what is unquestionably a massive problem. Silky Carlo there is the director of Big Brother Watch. Coming up, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and that breaking news now on the front of the Telegraph. Billions in aid cash handed to terrorists. Oh, right, there you go. That's just more of your money. This, I would be amazed, by the way, if it turns out that some of those terrorists don't have relatives living in parts of England at the taxpayers' expense as well. And now, this is quite an important moment, this. England cricket captain Ben Stokes has got himself into a spot of bother after a night of partying, not for the first time. And I'm going to reveal all in just a few moments.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're looking to get towards the Mediterranean this week, we've got some nice and hot weather for most places. There are a few showers around for Turkey and mainland Greece, but lovely sunshine for much of Italy. Temperatures up in the 30s as well. Again, some lovely sunshine for mainland Spain. A few showers up towards the north, but for Madeira and the Canary Islands, we do have this northerly wind bringing in some cloud. But for the rest of the week, almost wall-to-wall sunshine and temperatures up near the 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Tuesday will bring sunshine and showers for most of us, although across more southern areas there will be more sunshine than we've had through today. But for the rest of this evening, a cold front moves away to the east of the UK, and behind it we see further wet weather push into the far north and west. So a showery night to come for parts of Northern Ireland, western Scotland, and these showers will push into more western areas further south too, into Wales, southwest England. Across the east it should turn quite dry actually after the final spell of rain this evening, so a clear night. So it's going to be quite a fresh start across many eastern areas of the UK, in particular in the mid-single figures rurally, a bit higher than that in towns and cities, but it's cooler than it should be or typically is at this time of year. So plenty of showers to come on Tuesday, particularly across more northern areas. Some of these could be quite heavy. It's across the east where in the afternoon where they could last a little while. But for the morning, should be a fairly bright start. But I think just about anywhere could see a shower first thing. You can see some of these quite heavy, the brighter colours here. Westerly wind as well, bringing that fresher feel through much of the day on Tuesday. But there will be some gaps in the rain, some drier weather to enjoy. I think the rain will last longer for more northern areas. areas, particularly across the north and east. Across the south, there will be more in the way of dry weather than there will showers, but it's worth being prepared for them nonetheless. So with a westerly wind, it's still going to feel quite fresh. Temperatures in the mid, possibly higher teens in the far southeast. A little bit fresher than it should be, but certainly warmer than the weekend. More showers to come through Wednesday, particularly across more northern areas. We will likely push into the east, though, by the end of the day. Perhaps a bit of a drier start across the east. And then as we head towards the weekend, well, there's further wetter weather to come, but temperatures will be on the rise to above average by the end of the weekend. Have a good evening.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
OK, welcome back. Time to get you tomorrow's newspaper front pages tonight. We start with the Metro. Lieutenant in the Kinahan gang jailed for hit. So this is the... Yeah, well, this is what it says in the tin, really. It's this notorious global cartel, they call the Kinahan gang. The Independent, Trump's desperate plea on ceasefire. Stop shooting. They say Iran and Israel pause their attacks. The picture there's quite remarkable, isn't it? Look at the size of that rocket. The iPaper, UK spying fears after secret camera found in Whitehall ceiling panel. So the hidden device was discovered in a sensitive government building 2 months ago, and apparently it's around the area where they were discussing China's controversial planning application for a new mega embassy. And gosh, you know, sometimes you see a story that just shocks you, doesn't it? It really surprises. Oh God, what, the Chinese government spying on us? No. Let's go to the Daily Telegraph. I'll tell you what, this is a shock as well, isn't it? Billions of pounds of your money, foreign aid cash, has just been handed to terrorists. So, there you are. And the Sun, West Ham boss pressed teens for sex, in quote marks. They are saying that he's a porn baron who abused power to bed models. Apparently the police didn't take any action. This is in relation to the billionaire West Ham owner David Sullivan. Now, on this, in a statement, David Sullivan has said, the false allegations levelled against me have been sensationalised by the media. After a lifetime spent building businesses in the adult industry in which I have met thousands of women, it is sadly inevitable that a small number of improper conduct claims are being made against me. I categorically deny these claims. Now, let's go to the Eye front page. UK spying fears. So apparently the UK security services were alerted by officials who were alarmed because the building houses the Home Office and the Department for Housing, Communities and Local Government, and they found a secret camera behind an office ceiling panel. Well, I mean, Carol, this is like...
Who's surprised?
Yeah.
Who was surprised? This is exactly what we said would happen if they built the super embassy, but it's happened before they even built the super embassy. So they're spying on us already. So imagine how they're going to be able to do it when that embassy is built. You know, this government is really peopled by thickies. You know, they just do not think. You know, they get told about the possibilities of things, and they just don't think anything is going to happen, and then it does. And what are they going to do to the Chinese now? What repercussions will there be? Absolutely nothing. The Chinese can do what they like in this country.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the intelligence services did not oppose the new Chinese embassy, and so, you know, it's worth referencing that because those are the people that will know a lot about the possibility of abuse.
Well, they might have got that wrong, Benjamin.
Well, I mean, this is extraordinary, even if it's not so surprising, because not only have they been spying in a government building on decision-making about their own embassy, but this also presumably means that a worker or workers in that building are spies in order to have got it in there. Now, you would assume that many of these rooms and the corridors around them will have CCTV. So was that footage used or was it lost? How has this person managed to navigate the room to remove a ceiling panel and put it in there? We know that the Chinese do this all the time. I remember speaking to a speechwriter for the Chancellor who, when Xi Jinping did a state visit, you remember, about 10 years ago to the UK, and he said that they were gifted teacups. It was one of the presents. And they found when they scanned them before accepting the gifts that they'd put recording devices in the bottom of the teacups.
Absolutely.
In a gift to the Chancellor. That is how brazen they are.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is the thing. I mean, we've had military vehicles now, certain ones, the electric vehicles that they got for the military on some kind of net zero drive. They've been told to not have conversations in them because they assume that they've been bugged by China. There are massive issues, clearly, when it comes to, I think, every single one of our technological devices. There are huge things that the Chinese government has done to spy on us over the years, including infiltrating our diplomatic cables that went all around the world and in Downing Street after we gave the Chinese contract, inexplicably, to control some of the cables underneath the hub of power that is 10 Downing Street. And now here we go. Now, look, obviously they are saying, oh, there's no suggestion that a Beijing linked actor is responsible. Well, OK, but it was apparently... well, yeah, fine, but I mean, it was apparently in above a room where we were having serious discussions about whether or not to approve the Chinese embassy. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work it out.
I think there's a lack of seriousness that is pervading. Whilst we've been talking about the issues in the earlier segment about DEI and obsession with the Equality Act, at the same time not taking questions of national security and defence at the level it needs to be. We've seen that in terms of spending, we've seen that in terms of strategic thinking and planning, we've seen that in terms of the seriousness and the calibre of people, and we need to get a grip and deal with it. I mean, the other thing I'd say about this is that for a nation like China, who's very advanced with all this, it's the flip side of a similar coin of the whole discussion around digital ID and data, our own privacy and our protection, and those virtues that we hold so much for our own citizens need to be retained, because it's not just data breaches, it's the constant surveillance and the treating of our citizens as though they're a problem. I think we need to get very serious. I think that we're not there. And rather than spending our time on the kind of mad things that we've been looking at, these are the questions that we really need to get to grips with.
Well, quite. And so much of tonight's show, accidentally really, feeds into that, because we've got the fact that apparently none of our submarines are particularly working. We know about the aircraft carrier, that's not working. The frigates, forget about them. So you've got that. Then you've got this idea about, you know, apparently the government's solution to crack down on child abuse online, which, again, I will emphasise, needs to be cracked down on. Do not get me wrong. But we're not actually locking paedophiles up in prison. Instead, we might have some kind of spyware on all of our phones that might result in the police knocking your door in at 2:30 in the morning if you take a picture of your own baby child, which is ridiculous. And then now, on the front of the Telegraph, we're going to talk about this in the next section, billions of pounds in your foreign aid cash has just gone to terrorists. Yeah, it's like, what are we doing here? It's ridiculous. But I've got some more front pages for you. Breaking news on the front of tomorrow's Guardian newspaper. Apparently, Volodymyr Zelensky is very angry. He's very angry at Reform UK. He thinks they made a mistake taking down Ukrainian flags. Well, there you go. I suppose we'll give him a bit more money and shut him up. That's next. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. From 11, only on GB News.
Now, GB News' motto could be, bring me your cancelled masses yearning to breathe free. And so I'm delighted to give him a platform on this programme. Delighted to say that Mario joins me now. Mario, I'm sorry you find yourself in this position. Shall we just recap for a moment why you believe that the Elgin marble should remain in the British Museum? You've argued that on this programme before, but it was a while ago.
Absolutely. There are two orders of reasons. One is that the Greek claim is basically bogus because it's made on the assumption that they were stolen, which is completely false and unsupported by the extant historical documentation, which is quite clear. We have the grant of permission, even in translation. We have plenty of witnesses at the time who were in Athens who saw this permission in the original and who say Lord Elgin was empowered to do whatever he did because of this permission. So this is one way. The other reason is that now they are an integral part of British culture and an integral part, a fundamental asset of the British Museum. So even if you have full sympathy for the Greek aspiration to recompose an ancient monument that has been broken, first of all, this is not possible anymore because 1/3 of the decoration is gone and they are not putting whatever is remaining back on the temple. And second of all, you cannot break another cultural asset, another cultural collection that has had such a profound impact in our cultural history, in Western civilization cultural history, and just because of a nationalistic view.
I understand.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
OK, welcome back. Look, let me just give you the remainder of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. The Daily Express, Kemi Badenoch, restore common sense to the public services. The Guardian, Zelensky takes aim at reform UK's mistake on Ukrainian flags, basically to take down the Ukrainian flags. The Daily Mail, is university a waste of money? Yeah, very often it is, actually. And in fact, you can tell that because Tony Blair, the man who wanted loads of people to go to university, raised a son who has made millions of pounds actually telling people how to not go to university. But anyway, The Times, West Ham owner, quote, abused power to prey on women. Again, I'll emphasise that David Sullivan absolutely categorically denies all of those allegations. Let's revisit the Daily Telegraph. Billions is handed to terrorists because of your foreign aid. Terrorists, hostile states and gangsters have been given more than £28 billion of taxpayers' money, including through aid payments. There's things like Islamic State, Russia. Apparently, COVID relief loans were appropriated by the vast scale of Britain's enemies. I mean, Benjamin, you were saying that you've got a direct story about this.
Well, I was in Somalia and Somaliland a couple of weeks ago with Gavin Williamson, who used to be Defence Secretary, and he said that we give hundreds of millions over recent years to Somalia in international aid, and he was saying that in government he became convinced that that money that we give to Somalia, a country that's run by numerous terrorist gangs, Al-Shabaab, an offspring of Al-Qaeda, that they recycle the money from the government, which is controlled by them, and it goes straight into the pockets of the terrorists. And they also use it for the Houthis in Yemen, the same people that have been targeting British ships and ships destined for Britain in the Straits. And so, you know, there is an example. And he said he'd made that argument numerous times, had no success. Meanwhile, Somaliland, a former British colony, gets none of the support, and we send it to the terrorist nation.
Well, we are funding pretty much both sides of every single global issue here. You know, Somalia, as you said, is actually named in this piece, Islamic State in Syria, various different organised crime groups in Eastern Europe. Well, I think we can guess where that money's going. You know, I mean, it's absolutely astonishing when people say, "Oh, we need foreign aid," you know, to have soft power on the world stage. He's crippling us.
There's always outrage every time anyone suggests cutting foreign aid in this country. And now we know where it's going. So it's an even bigger argument to cut foreign aid and use it for the problems we have here in Britain. Because this is outrageous. You know, we keep on giving foreign aid to countries that don't need it. I mean, apart from these ones, we give it to India that has a space programme.
Yeah, if you can go to the moon, you don't need our money.
Yeah, exactly. So it is outrageous that this is happening, and yet every time we suggest using it for Britain and its needs...
30 seconds, Alan. We're being described as an ATM machine for terrorists.
I think the combination of the mad money tree during lockdowns and COVID, rather than dealing with things sensibly, shutting down the economy and then printing money, giving it out, not having proper fiscal accountability of it, alongside this question about international terror and all of our enemies using this against us. And meanwhile, we're bound and gagged ourselves by not being able to call something what it is in case we are discriminating. We've got to get to grips with it. We need a DOGE, a Department of Government Efficiency, like they created in the States. We need to go through all of that and get back to basics.
Absolutely. Well, good stuff. Well, look, there's plenty to go at in the next hour when we go into these front pages in even more detail, including a rather surprising story about England cricket captain Ben Stokes. Thanks, guys.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Tuesday will bring sunshine and showers for most of us, although across more southern areas there will be more sunshine than we've had through today. But for the rest of this evening, a cold front moves away to the east of the UK, and behind it we see further wet weather push into the far north and west. So a showery night to come for parts of Northern Ireland, western Scotland, and these showers will push into more western areas further south too, into Wales, southwest England. Across the east it should turn quite dry actually after the final spell of rain this evening, so a clear night. So it's going to be quite a fresh start across many eastern areas of the UK, in particular in the mid-single figures rurally, a bit higher than that in towns and cities, but it's cooler than it should be or typically is at this time of year. So plenty of showers to come on Tuesday, particularly across more northern areas. Some of these could be quite heavy. So across the east, where in the afternoon where they could last a little while. But for the morning, should be a fairly bright start. But I think just about anywhere could see a shower first thing. You can see some of these quite heavy, the brighter colours here. Westerly wind as well, bringing that fresher feel through much of the day on Tuesday. But there will be some gaps in the rain, some drier weather to enjoy. I think the rain will last longer for more northern areas, particularly across the north and east. Across the south, there will be more in the way of dry weather than there will showers, but it's worth being prepared for them nonetheless. So with the west